Hello, it's Philip Taylor speaking from Richmond Green Chambers. This morning I'm looking at a book from Spiramus Press. It's a book we reviewed before. It's now in a second edition and it's called The Tax Schedule. It's this book here. Now I don't know how the author describes her name, but I think it's Eile Gibson, and I do apologise if I haven't got the name right. The subtitle is A Guide to Tax Warranties and Indemnities, now in a second edition. There's the back of the book, so you've got some idea of what's in it. You've also got a useful little index at the back, not very much. Actually, Spiramus never really go in too much for detailed indexes, but there are lots of very useful appendices, which you can see there. It's a very readable book, by the way, this. And you can see, again, more appendices there with schedules and various other things. Then you've got, again, a structure. You've got paragraph numbering, which again is, I think, very important for us as lawyers. You've got the useful footnotes at the bottom, which you can see there. So it makes it quite easy to find things quite quickly. You've got a whole range of issues which accompany, for instance, sale and purchase of a business, all this sort of stuff. So it's really very useful. As I said, it's actually very easy to read, which is one of the good things. A lot of statutes, of course, involved in this particular book itself. The contents section, you can see, just as an example, you can see how it's laid out, and the page numbers. And then what I would advise you to do is to read the preface, because basically what she's done is she's updated where we are, and again there's the second part of it which indicates what her purpose is with this particular publication. And as I say, the book runs into about 500 pages. There's a little CD at the back. It's a hardback book as well, not a paperback, and it's quite heavy, so bear that in mind. Now our review, which is on the web and in the journals, is as follows. The title we've given it is Explaining and Simplifying Issues for Tax Advisors Involved in the Sale of Companies and Businesses, now in a new edition with accompanying CD-ROM. So it's specifically for the business community, but it's easy to read. So that's one of the things, I think, for the heavy-pressed businessman or woman. It's the sort of thing that is useful to have. So they have it, and it's a comfort when they're trying to sort out some of the tax issues. This is what we say anyway. For lawyers who specialise in tax, and definitely for tax accountants, especially those advising on the sale of a company or business, this recent and recently updated guide from Spiramus is an essential purchase, we think. And as expert author Eile Gibson points out, the book is also aimed at non-tax specialists, including finance directors, corporate advisors, as well as those who buy companies and those who sell them. And we will also think that if you're a non-tax specialist, the book will help you liaise more effectively and knowledgeably with someone who is. In other words, it's going to help you as a companion and as a guide as much as anything else. And since publication of the last edition of the book, it's been updated to include the provisions of the Finance Act 2012 and the 2013 Act. And we believe it's quite important to note that 3 recent cases cited by the author as being of prime importance are discussed in detail in paragraphs 4.6.4, 10.10 and 10.13 of the volume. You can actually find it in there if you make a note of them. That's 4.6, 10.10 and 10.13. These, she says, are required reading, these 3 tax cases, for all tax specialists, so buy the book and have a look at it, which is probably a sensible thing to do if you're going into that sort of detail. As always, the purpose of the guide, which Spiramus set as a sort of main mission, if you like, is to explain and simplify tax issues for tax advisors, indeed anyone involved at the sharp end of negotiations between a buyer and a seller pitted against one another over the sale of a company. This, the author achieves in our view in clear, straightforward language, and takes the view, which we're sure is widely shared, that among other things the current market practice in drafting the tax schedule has strayed from commercial principles and often ignores the responsibility for the buyer to carry out proper due diligence on the target. On these points, note the two chapters, the transaction process and due diligence, both of which I think are extremely helpful for business. The chapters following cover a wide spectrum of issues, from warranties to share scheme issues, venture capital schemes, group issues and much more. The chapter on the tax schedule discusses the relative merits and demerits of both the short form and long form of the schedule, and model long form and short form warranties are provided together with indemnities actually in the book, which will assist you. Significantly, Gibson, who runs her own London-based tax advisory practice, worked as a financial advisor before qualifying as a barrister and then a solicitor. The book therefore offers a legal as well as a financial perspective on the tax schedule. The entirety of it is better as a guide rather than befuddling the reader through what is actually its tangled complexities. So it's actually, I think, a very easy entry into an area which can very quickly befuddle you and become very, very confusing. So let me conclude by saying practical research tools for the book include the CD-ROM, which allows customization of model documents, which again is helpful, saves you a lot of time. All this and more, including a table of authorities, not that many, and an amazing extensive glossary of terms, again very useful as we get more and more complex with some of the abbreviations and things. I think it's indispensable, frankly, for this particular area and for the professional practitioner. So thank you to Eile Gibson very much indeed for this. I'm very pleased with it. Spiramus never fail to surprise me with the fact that they really do put a lot of effort into these works, and I'm very grateful to them for letting us know about it, and I hope you find it of some help in your advisory role or whatever you do in this particular area. So thanks and all the very best. Bye bye.